That's right. It is the morning show right here on ABC News Radio, KMT 1490 AM. In just a couple of minutes, I appreciate each and every one of you. On today's show, we've got a brand new look. It's, well, at least for the time being, it's in the house. So there you go. I got Mr. Jesse Sanchez over there. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning.
Hopefully, you guys can hear Jesse as well. My current situation has quite changed, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But look, you know what? I love each and every one of you for staying with us, and I know many of you tune in via social media. Thank you for always being there with us, always contributing, always asking us to do more content. Because I would imagine if you guys don't like the content, you would just not watch anymore, right? And I say that with trepidation because as much as I love all of our opportunities here at the morning show station. We are no longer on KVVB TV. As of yesterday, I was told quite adamantly that would be my last day. So no 2 weeks notice, but that's okay because it was always first come first serve slash it is what it is. So KVVB is no longer going to be broadcasting any of our content. And that's all you really need to know. But there you go. So the TV studio's up for grabs for whoever wants that over there. And so there you go. But it is what it is. Right, Jesse?
Yeah, it is what it is.
But
We'll
hey,
make it work. We'll bounce back.
yeah, exactly. I think that's why the little intro wasn't working for me over here, but I'm working out of my home office. Anyway, but at the same time, this is, you know what, it reminds me of my humble beginnings, because this is how I started, Jesse. I know you didn't know me back when, but I used to do just the broadcasting from, honestly, actually out of an apartment. And, I had a banner behind me. I don't know if that's still going to happen. I don't know if another TV opportunity is going to come up anytime soon or any, I really don't know what's going to go on, but I do know this. Technically, we don't even have to take a break. I'm so used to taking breaks because we usually go to TV break. But since we're not broadcasting on Roku, I do say go and support them still. KVVB on Roku and or Fire Stick, but we're no longer on either one of those because KVVB was on that as well. But we're still on ABC News Radio, KMT 1490 AM. I want to thank the entire staff for keeping me on as well. And look, I get it. I understand. The last week has been kind of difficult. Many of you have kind of poured my heart out. And honestly, not my soul, because there's so much more going on behind the scenes. But, it is what it is. So, but like I keep sharing on the show, I'm still willing to go toe-to-toe with anybody who disagrees with me. And look, I understand. Some people love Trump. I get it. I understand that. Some people love Biden. I get it. I understand that. If Biden were to do as craziness of Trump, I would probably be swinging at Biden. Okay. So there's a lot of back and forth. And I've always been very transparent about that. I talk about, oftentimes I talk about both. I talk about the Democratic Party. I talk about the Republican Party. But I will say this. That only happened as of most recent in March. Before that, I never, ever was politically ever one side or the other side. I think I've been very transparent with my message on that. However, once coronavirus started and once I started seeing certain things being done against the American people, I really did find it kind of detrimental that there was caution thrown to the wind. And I've always held ever since March, if you look at any of my comments ever, it was always to not throw caution to the wind. It was always don't believe what you hear all the time. Be safe than sorry, and err on the side of caution, right? That was always kind of, if you will, just kind of my motto, right? And I'd see the president doing a lot of bad, and that's why I always had to do a disclaimer because, let's face it, we all know because oftentimes Tim usually tunes in. So he's very pro-Trump. And I always said, I had him on the show, had him call in for that reason. And some of you know it, some of you don't. But, it is what it is. So it is what it is. And now, evidently, I got to move out of the house because this is his house, too, as well. And he's been kind enough. But as of the last of the month, we were told to Splitville. So get out of there. Get out of my house.
10 seconds.
So it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Thank you.
2 seconds.
All right, thanks, Jesse. That's right. It's the morning show right here on ABC News Radio KMET 1490 AM. Joining our live audience right there on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and of course LinkedIn. Really appreciate each and every one of you. It's been a tough week, I think, for a lot of people that unfortunately haven't, shared it on social media. But I've seen some really terrible posts. So here's what I want to do on this show. I want to not talk about the past. The past is the past. What do we do moving forward? So many of you that are tuning in on the radio, I appreciate you. If you want to tune in on our social media platforms, you can also check it out. Follow me at Aaron Michael Sanchez and look for the official check mark. Also Instagram. Sometimes we post some of our videos and interviews on Instagram as well as a delayed video. There's a way to send it live, but it is what it is. For those of you that don't know, I currently no longer will be broadcasting on television, at least at the television station KVVB. Yesterday was and is my last day. I was told literally yesterday. No harm and no foul. It is what it is. And I always said today might be my last day. And I'll be honest, I really pushed the envelope over there. Talking about as often as I do, kind of not always. I don't. In fact, I would applaud oftentimes President Trump. I think you guys know this. Whenever he does the right thing, but whenever he does kind of stuff that just I disagree with, I've always said it's my opinion only, because it never is that of the KVVB TV station. So I just want everybody to know this. Look, no matter what happens, no matter where I go, I will always speak from the heart. I will always speak my truth. Maybe it might not be somebody else's truth, but I always request that they share their truth, that they could share their truth quite publicly. Admittedly, so I may go toe-to-toe with them often, but it is what it is. So I have no ill feelings. I know the people at KVVB are an amazing team. They just want to do the right thing. And I honestly, I still have much love in my heart for the owner, but it is what it is. You got to move forward. And I think that's kind of the theme for today. For all of us in life, when life hits you on multiple fronts, it hits you in the gut, it hits you in the face, you got people just turning their backs on you. No matter what, you have to keep pushing forward. You have to keep trying to do the right thing. You don't resort to, well, now I'm mad, now I'm angry, now I'm going to just give up, or I'm going to get frustrated, or I'm going to fight back. No, you call it out, you say what it is, and you let it go. So basically, that's what I'm hoping people do in life. Let it go. Just say, you know what? The time has come to an end. We have parted as friends. I wish the best for you. I hope you wish the best for me. And we continue moving on. And more importantly, remember, we're not through coronavirus, so we all need to get through this pandemic together. And I feel that during pandemic, people will, again, as I've said, gotten more mad, get more upset, get more frustrated in life. And so you kind of sometimes ask, I know I ask myself this on a daily basis, am I the one in the wrong? Am I the one not doing the right thing? Am I the one possibly throwing caution to the wind? Which I would have to say, that's debatable. And it depends what side of the aisle you're on. It really does. So I'm always checking and double checking and triple checking. Am I completely wrong? Because I'm always willing to admit I'm wrong, even when it comes to politics, right? Sometimes I will oftentimes say, if I got it wrong, then fine. And we've had people from the opposite end of what I say on the show. I have one trending right now on Twitter talking about mail-in ballots and how this person loves Trump, thinks he's the greatest gift to man, but he and I had an educational segment, and I said, oh, okay, I could understand how you would say Democratic parties actually kind of use the mail-in ballot and can misuse that and kind of sign up more people and kind of swing it in one way. But even he admitted that could technically be done in the other side of the way, the Republican way. So that's kind of the discussion I want to have. I just want to have reality versus, I don't want to call it, let's just call it reality. Okay, stick to the facts, people. Just stick to the facts, and you'll be better for it. Okay, people. We got social media still tuning in. Appreciate you guys. So those of you seriously tuning in, I really do appreciate you. Let me do some shout-outs. Angie Guzman tuning in. Maria Wills tuning in. Avril tuning in. Thank you. Melanie Warren tuning in. Srihari tuning in. Jessuline tuning in. Let's see. Casey, Nilda, Stefania, Despika, thank you. And I know many of you are tuning in from around the world, so oftentimes I talk about not just local stories because that's our main bread and butter. KMET is a local station, but we're also international. I keep wanting to, prove that time and again through our social media audience. So let us know where you're tuning in from if we don't already know. Like Katya Wunderland tunes in regularly from Switzerland. Thank you. Darren Wilson's over there watching. Thank you. Janice tuning in. Thank you. Lori's tuning in. Esmeralda's tuning in. Thank you. Joseph Luera. I know Joe way back when, like super back when I was a little kid. So big shout out to Joseph there. Chris tuning in. Let's see. MC tuning in. Aaron Murphy tuning in. Patrice tuning in. And I appreciate all your comments. Okay, let's get to the latest. Jesse, I know you've been kind of silent over there. We got Mr. Jesse Sanchez over there. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning.
So, Jesse, I understand you posted something, and I think a lot of us kind of need to maybe be aware of it. Some of us, not me, I totally agree with you, may take, what's the word? They may take the opposite view, but I'm glad you're sticking to your guns on this one. Can you tell me why you got upset just recently about Netflix?
Yeah, so someone shared it. Netflix is releasing a movie called Cuties, and now I saw the trailer and the poster for it, and they don't even look like they go together because the poster makes it seems like it's a giant, giant twerk fest with a bunch of little kids. So it's really disturbing, and I saw it. My jaw dropped. I was like, how did they think this was okay? But if you watch the trailer, it seems totally different. So I'm kind of on the fence about this. The poster is just unacceptable.
So do you think it's like marketing from the distribution angle, and they're just because I saw it, and when you say kids, like how old would you say the kids are on this poster? I don't really want to show it, to be honest, because I don't want to publicize that.
Yeah,
but
I swear they look like they're 11 or like 10. They're incredibly young.
Yeah, and they look like they're in gymnast type clothes, right? Performing, I think. And it's called Cuties, and I, you know what? It's here's what I would say. And in the entertainment business, unfortunately, I've been around situations, unfortunately, where there's a lot of young kids, and there's a lot of you can't prove it, but you could feel like an energy from certain people that are very like praying, like a little too handsy on, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I remember there was a red carpet we were on, full disclosure. I was helping promote I think it was a film, and it was like one of those films where, we would do it. I would do the red carpet interviews, and this particular photographer was a little too personal with the young ones. Does that make sense? And any parent that knows, wait a minute, that's a little too personal, that's kind of the sense we got of it. And my friend who was there was like, whoa. And she called it out. She's like, you need to back off of that kid. Because the parent was nowhere to be seen. Because the parent was trying to network, trying to get to the agents, trying to get to the publicists, trying to promote their child, in this film or at a red carpet. And what people don't understand is, unfortunately, in the entertainment business, there's a lot of backgrounds that are never checked. So until they check backgrounds, or you have a photographer that just kind of volunteers, right? Or it could, maybe not even a photographer, it could be a producer, it could be a film director. There's a lot of scuzzy people in the entertainment field that I can tell you right now, I've reminded a couple parents, you really need to watch your daughter and or son. You need to not be off just networking and highlighting, and then all of a sudden the kids are all of a sudden talking to a producer who says, hey, you know what, I can help your career, this and that. They go to mom, and usually there's a momager, but I've seen mothers kind of throw caution to the wind. I've seen mothers literally almost be like, what do you need from me? And it's like, wow, you need to be more hands-on than hands-off. I know one mother that was so hands-on, technically she needed a good agent to promote her daughter as in the music career that she wanted, because she was a little too hands-on, because she didn't understand fully. I think she wanted to understand, but I don't think she fully understood. And I always kept it silent. But so there's a fine line. There's a fine line of finding people that you know you can trust, having that conversation with your children about there are bad people out there. I know some people are like, there's no good, there's no bad. I'm like, are you kidding me? There's a lot of evil in the world. You got to be aware of it. And when you're aware of it, you do the right thing by your child by saying, look, there are people that are going to take advantage of either your talent, either your time, or even, unfortunately, your body. And you have to have that discussion at a very young age. Back to the Cuties Netflix that you're talking about, I personally don't appreciate Netflix for doing that. And I hope there's enough pushback where they say, A, let's remove that version of, because I have a feeling the kids are doing more. There's a lot of dance moves. Some of them are borderline, let's face it. Twerking, there's no dance. I mean, that's like, what kind of dance joint are you going to be at? You're going to use that move, just out of curiosity, right, Jesse?
It just seems unusual. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a good movie with a great message, but it lost me at the twerking part, especially for a kid that age.
Yeah, and I'm glad it bothers you, because anybody that it doesn't bother, I have to go, why doesn't it bother you, right? So it is what it is. And I get it. You know, back in the day, some people were like, well, the Elvis did some pretty, but you didn't have young kids. Oh, okay, you probably had young kids impersonating him. But still, my point is, when you publicize it and you put it on a cover and then you call them cuties, that's just a pedophile's like, yeah, I just wouldn't want to be in the same room with a pedophile. That's all I got to say. You're a pedophile, unfriend me. Seriously, I don't need you on this station at all. I don't enjoy pedophiles, and I don't want them anywhere near me. And you got to be careful. You got to be careful, because sometimes if you ever get a sense, I remember one time I took a Greyhound bus. This was way like 15 years ago, from California to Florida. Never take a Greyhound cross country, but I was desperate, right? Because I missed the flight, and it was a long story. I was going for training for, it doesn't matter what I was going for. But on this bus route, there was a guy who would put he was a young man, maybe 25, and he was a little off, if you know what I mean. We all know what off means, right? That's kind of weird. And there was a woman with her son, and this man would be like, and he'd rub the kid's head, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I was like, that's odd behavior for a stranger to do that with another person's kid, right? And so I approached her. I just says, hey, by the way, you might want to kind of watch that guy, because I just, watch your kid around him, okay? And she's like, huh, what? I said, just watch him, okay? And then she saw, and she's like, oh. And then she got her son like, oh. Because sometimes parents are unaware of this. They're unaware of the behavior of others, and they think, oh, no, everybody's okay. And I say, not everybody's all on the up and up. There are evil people in this world, and or unwell people. And so you got to do the right thing. So that's what I tell each and every parent. Be a present parent. Be a good parent. And don't throw caution to the wind, especially when it comes to the entertainment business. Be very hands-on. Be very momager if you have to be. Let loose the reins with somebody that you know will take their career to the next level, but not in a bad way. You should always be there present with them, especially as a minor. Especially as a minor. You do not leave the room at all. Just be, no, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, and that be the agreement with your agent and your manager. And when they are a good agent or manager, they will never put your child at risk. So there you go. That's my tips of the day. And I'm glad it bothered you, Jesse, because if it didn't, I'd have questions. No, I'm just kidding. But I know you're a good guy. All right, people, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back right after these messages with more right here of The Morning Show.
Your mom said, comb your hair. Your dad told you, smarten up. Your dog is judging you right now. And your best friend just called you crazy. We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. Now imagine getting your news like that. No bull, no spin, just give it to me straight. Straightforward news. straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
The Americans here on the ground and the Iraqis. 18,000 tons. Patatas. Ismail? David.
Over ground zero from Hurricane Michael.
You can see just home after home.
David, good to meet you.
This was your view.
My favorite view.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I'm grateful you woke up this morning.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning, sunshine. We've been waiting for you. Say good morning. Good morning, sunshine. In America. Say good morning. I want you to wake me up.
Friday nights, 9/8 Central. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime. 2020. Friday nights, 9/8 Central on ABC.
All right, we're on our commercial break on the radio. Appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. We got Arabelle tuning in. Thank you. Bobby tuning in. Sarah tuning in. Thank you. Nola tuning in. Thank you, Nola. Let's see. We've got Mukul from India. Thank you, Mukul, for tuning in. Appreciate you. Marabina tuning in. Go follow Marabina, by the way. She's a great actress. Really a great voiceover artist, too, as well. And she's bilingual. We've had her on the show at a different studio. And you know what? I always say, in my life, and hopefully in your life too, this happens. Sometimes there are very forceful events that happen, and you didn't see them coming. They're like, kind of like a car crash, right? That you hopefully survive and walk away from, which I've had before. Ugh, it was terrible. Concussion. Ripped. Like, it was, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to recover. And then you recover. And then you go up. You never go down.
2 seconds.
Always go up. Never go down. Welcome back. Yes, it is the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KBT 1490 AM. Joining our live audience on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and of course LinkedIn. Glad to have you with us on today's show. We're actually switching it up. I had several guests scheduled, but I didn't want to mess up the interview, so hopefully they'll be on next week when we figure out our situation. For those of you that don't know, oftentimes you hear me say we are on other broadcasting channels. Unfortunately, my show, just my show, was dropped from that for other reasons, which, you know, it is what it is. But each and every one of you that have been tuning in, I really do appreciate you. So let's go ahead and get to some news you can use. First of all, let's go ahead and go to world news, because I think it's important to see what's happening around the world. And let's see. This one's the latest. Kim Jong-un delegates some powers to sister. Oh, no. This is, I could tell you right now, if you have not done the research about his sister, I'll be honest. At first, I thought, oh, she is like just so nice. And then I saw the flip switch, and I was like, oh, no, that woman, you got to, oh. I think Kim Jong-un of that family is probably the nicer one. Just saying. But here's the news article. He's reportedly given his sister, Kim Yo-jong, partial authority to oversee general state affairs in order to ease the Northern Korean leader's workload, according to South Korean intelligence. South Korea's National Intelligence Service told the country's lawmakers that Kim Jong-un's decision to transfer more power to his younger sister further bolstered the argument that she is now the country's de facto second in command, but does not take away from the fact that Kim Jong-un is still the ultimate authority and exercises absolute power, according to the Office of Representative Kim Byung-ki, who attended the NIS briefing. Kim Yo-jong was not the only one who was given an increased portfolio. Other top-ranking officials in North Korea's government and ruling Workers' Party have taken on greater responsibilities as part of this supposed new push to alleviate the stresses on Kim Jong-un, who has been in power for nearly 9 years. But look, you did the research on her, you look at her, and you're saying, oh no. Some even think she was ready to like take over when Kim Jong-un was like in the hospital. However, I beg the question again, what's going to happen next with North Korea? Obviously, look, don't throw caution to the wind. Hopefully they don't arm their armaments, which they obviously have some failures over there, but not that they've stopped testing those missiles over there. So again, got to be careful and just watch world news, because you never know how all of a sudden it could take a switch and like be overnight. All of a sudden we're in World War III. And then there's this. Let me go back to just our world of the U.S. Let me go to this one. Virus cases reported at 41 schools in Germany. Now, do you remember the comment? I remember, because I would always get in the heated arguments about this, and they're like, no, I saw on another news channel, I won't throw the news channel under the bus, where there were certain experts that would say, you know what, it really is not that high of a big deal with the kids. And I thought, you mean they don't get it, or do you mean that they're just not dying from it, that they recover better? And the person said, well, no, they're just kind of not, like, they're not really getting it. I go, that kind of makes no sense, because they're still a human. They're just a younger human. But here's the latest. At least 41 schools in Berlin have reported that students or teachers have become infected with the coronavirus not even 2 weeks after schools reopened in the German capital. Now, why am I talking about Germany when obviously we're here in the U.S.? As of most recently, the LA Unified School District is actually trying to get certain waivers to be able to go back to the way it was in certain schools. So the question that I want to not throw caution in the wind to those that are thinking, say, well, if this happened in Germany, what do you think is going to happen here, just out of curiosity? And I've thrown this one out. Okay, maybe the child's going to get it, but he'll recover. What about the family members? What if you have another really youngborn, like newborn, which hasn't built up their immunity just yet? You're going to throw caution in the wind on that? Or what if there's grandma or grandpa living at the house? You're going to throw caution to the wind at that? Maybe the young one's going to be okay, but all of a sudden the young one gets not okay, and now the rest of the family's not okay. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Let me continue to read this. Daily Berliner Zeitung published the numbers Friday, and city education authorities confirmed the figures to the Associated Press. Hundreds of students and teachers are in quarantine. And that's just the beginning. The newspaper reported elementary schools, high schools, and trade schools are all affected. There are 825 schools in Berlin. The reopening of schools and the possible risks of virus clusters building up in educational institutions and then spreading beyond the families and further into society. Oh, isn't that what I just said? It's kind of like, I didn't even read this article. It's just like I bring it up as we go. In a society have been a matter of great concern, and it's an issue that's hotly debated in Germany. So look, why do I mention Germany again? Because, like I say, we have to learn from our brothers and sisters in other countries, because let's face it, we're all of the human race. And I know many people are like, oh, it's a political race and it's only against Trump. And I say, think with your thinking brain and stop thinking with your other brain of pro-Trump, less Trump, whatever. My point is this. Do I appreciate that Joe Biden's very out in the open of let's get ahead of this and fix it and let's do the right things? I am, actually. I appreciate him. However, I think when you look at the world scene and you point out what's happening in the world scene, you should be able to say, maybe we need to learn from that. Maybe we need better protocols. Now, we have had discussions here of certain schools in the area, universities really, that have minimized certain hands-on training that need to be hands-on, but they have great protocol systems of making sure that they check if there's a fever of a person coming in. And you know what? That's just good even just for the flu, right? Or for like any other potential situation. So here's, again, me saying, don't throw caution to the wind, school system. Let's learn from our neighbors, which are certainly on the other side of the world, but we're all neighbors. We really are. You just have to take a plane. Well, no, you can't take a plane there because you can't travel outside of the United States because nobody really wants us just yet. Oh, that's right. So why is everybody happy about the situation with Trump? It's okay. So there you go. But look, if he continues to do the right thing, I will applaud him more than anyone. I will be his front row supporter. Shoot. Maybe I'll even want to vote for him. We just got to do the right thing. All right, people, we got to take another break. We'll be right back right after these messages. Stay tuned. All right, we're on our commercial break. We've got Jesse Sanchez over there rolling with the team on social media. We got Blanca tuning in from our own neck of the woods. Thank you, Blanca. We've got Lucy tuning in. Thank you. Diana tuning in. Ty, Lucy, Nicole tuning in, because I think we got a couple Lucys in the house. Thank you. Arabelle tuning in. Bobby tuning in. Sarah tuning in. Thank you. And names that I unfortunately can't read. I think that's Arabic, so I apologize, but I can't read that. Nola, thank you for tuning in. Let's go to Periscope. Let me bring up the Periscope audience because I've been a little. It's hard to have multiple windows open where I'm at right now. I got a lot of you tuning in. Thank you. And you know what? I appreciate your sharing, and I appreciate you getting the word out. And you know what? If you have leads to a TV station and or a cool like background setup that like our content, I'm more than happy and willing to talk to them. Because I think the information that we share here, many of you, I see your comments and I see you guys like appreciating our show. Otherwise you wouldn't tune in. And not, obviously our numbers would be quite down, but our numbers have actually only been increasing, honestly. So thank you for that. Which begs the question to me, why now? But you know what, like I said, sometimes things happen. Things have always happened in my life where it's like, almost like it knocks the wind out of you. But then you go, okay, what's around the corner? And every single time in my entire career of doing this, I'll give you an example. One time I had a camera stolen from the car and the light. Who steals the light? The camera, I understand. And it was stolen in broad daylight at my apartment in broad daylight. And I'm like, who stole the light? Because it was a tall light. It was one of those old lights too. It wasn't even a brand new light. It wasn't like the cool new round ring lights. You know what I mean, Jesse? And this was stolen from my car, and I was like, and one, it wasn't my car. It wasn't my equipment. It was my uncle's equipment. I was so sorry. He goes, and you know what he said? He says, it could have been worse. I go, how could it have been worse than that? Like, this is terrible. But you know what it did? That was a standard camera. This was like 15 years ago or 12. I don't know. It was a long time ago. All of a sudden, we ended up upgrading to high-definition cameras after that. And I was like, I guess it was the forceful move that we needed to go. So, again, you never know. Oh, you said 20 seconds? I thought I had like 2 seconds. I was like, oops, shut up, Aaron.
5 seconds.
The internal dialogue, if you heard my head, I'd be like, shut up, Aaron. All right.
2 seconds.
That's right. It's the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM, joining our live audience over there at Facebook, Instagram. Well, if they comment, because I might post some of this up on Instagram, let people know where we are in the stream of time. And obviously, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Periscope. Appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you for your kind comments, your kind wishes. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to talk about my life for the last 2 weeks. I really don't. It's been like just a slow decline of stuff, and I'm almost wondering what next. But here's the good news. My sister, no bad news. That's the great news. Okay, no bad news there. It sounds like, and I hope that her condition will continue to get better. She'll fight this coronavirus that's in her right now, and that she'll be able to get over it. And I hope it was because even though she got sick in February, we pumped her with so many medication that were to help her. The end plate helped her platelets, so that's still in her blood, hopefully helping her fight immunity-wise. And so, look, I shared that information ever since then. I'll be honest, ever since then, I've been very pro get rid of coronavirus. And I've been very pro be cautious because it's still going around. And I've unfortunately seen a lot of friends on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter post situations where their own family members are also in the hospital. So I look at my situation and I go, my situation isn't that bad. I remember when it was that bad. And if like any of my family members, including, ones anyway, no matter who it is, I don't want anybody to die that I know personally. Just don't. I know you guys don't either. So at the end of the day, I have to go back and I have to say, you know what? It is what it is. I started from humble beginnings. I can start over again. And I do appreciate everybody here at ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM, who has chosen to keep the show alive and well. And but I need your support. Each and every one of you tuning in, I just need your support. And here's what I need. I just need you to constantly, if you watch and you enjoy any bit of it, just share it. Some of you, a few weeks ago, we had a pretty short interview by most standards, But we had a lot of cards and thank yous that were never sent in before, but I guess it really hit home with a lot of people. And you sent in your cards, you sent in emails to the radio station, and if you want to keep the morning show on, alive and well, because look, it is a thing, it's just whenever I bash any Republican and or Democratic, just know this. Not every station's happy with it. But I try to stick to the facts. I don't try to throw out words that are like just, let's throw caution in the wind. It's a conspiracy. It's a hoax. But there are shows like that on other stations as well. And they never get the boot. So I'm like, well, what kind of shows do you guys want? So I don't know. If you want to stick to the facts, stick to our show. If you want to like throw out, it's still a hoax, it's against a conspiracy against Trump, then, I got to kind of question people's sanity on stuff like that. But there you go. You know what? Yesterday, here's some good news that you might appreciate. Lyft. Lyft actually might be not on the chopping block. This just happened as of, I believe, yesterday. And I got a text because, like I said, I used to work with Lyft. And I got the text that says it's being discontinued as of I think 12 p.m. is what they said. And then suddenly, in the afternoon, they said, whoa, we're back in business. So here's the deal. An appeals court in California granted Uber and Lyft an emergency stay on Thursday, giving the rideshare giants more time to appeal a ruling that required them to classify drivers as employees instead of independent contractors. The news comes after Lyft announced earlier Thursday that it would suspend its ride-sharing operations in the state of California. After a judge said last week that the ride-hailing companies must classify their drivers as employees. Lyft later backtracked, saying they will not halt operations. The employee classification would mean that the drivers will be provided with sick leave, overtime pay, and other benefits. Now, here's the thing, and I don't think people really understand this. There are less people wanting to get out and about because there are more people, unfortunately, that are having to stay in and or maybe they're unemployed, so they don't have the funds to be able to get out, and they're just waiting for a good job. Unemployment numbers, unfortunately, and I don't know how you can spin this in either direction, but I just saw a report that unemployment numbers, let me bring that up so that I don't mess up the disclaimer here. You know what? Let's take a break. I'll bring that back when we get back right after these messages with more right here of The Morning Show. Stay tuned. All right, we're on a commercial break there. And Jesse, you there with me?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, cool. Let's see here. Where did I see that? It was unemployment number. Sometimes when I put so much information in my head, I'm like, where did I see that?
Yeah, I do that all the time. All the time.
Unemployment numbers. Let's go to news here. I love Google. They just are so where did I see that? I think I saw it in USA Today, to be honest. Oh, there it is. U.S. jobless claims jump back above 1 million.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said was going to happen. Which is why we got to figure it out so that we all can be safe than sorry. Do the right thing. Make it invest in your business, some protocols, and make it so you don't have to close down. And you know what? I'd say to Governor Newsom.
What?
Spend some money on that. Help the. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know that you could keep throwing businesses money, but I would say, look, you can open up if you have certain, they do the outside thing, but it's hot right now. Now, who wants to go out to a restaurant and do it outside, Jesse?
Nobody.
And I live in the desert currently, but evidently I got to look for a new house because I got to be out by the end of the month. Huh. Normally, don't they give you 30 days notice when they want you out just because, right? Just because.
I don't know. I don't know the rules to renting.
I'm pretty sure that's the deal. 30 days notice at least? Not what is it, 10, 15 days notice? You're out. Get out of here, my house. I was like, oh, dang, okay. Well, all right. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Yeah.
30 seconds.
And I've paid regularly, by the way, just so everybody knows. There's not no month I haven't paid that wasn't agreed upon. So it's not like payments aren't current. Seriously. Like, just so you know. I would understand if there were no payments made, but there are, so...
Okay, we got 2 seconds.
Okay, thanks. Welcome back. This is the morning show here on ABC News Radio, KMT 1490 AM, with our live social media audience on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope. Twitter owns Periscope, LinkedIn, and also YouTube. Forgive me, I'm so used to like saying other stuff, but we've minimized our streaming options. So those of you tuning in, if it's your very first time, keep watching. I guarantee this show will look better eventually. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know if ever, to be honest. I just have hope. I have hope that, here's what I want to inspire before I go into the unemployment numbers. I want to inspire people that no matter what life throws at you, always remember sometimes there's things that happen for a reason. In life, if you think back to moments, maybe you went through a divorce. Maybe you went through a bad breakup. Maybe you went through a job loss. Maybe you went through, it could be countless things. Maybe your car got totaled, but now you have a brand new car. I've had all of those happen to me, by the way. But each and every time, I had to keep pushing forward. And when you keep, I had a very interesting conversation with a past coworker, which is actually at the place I just left over at the TV station. And he was very, very compassionate. He says, and he commented about Harry Potter's author. He says, Harry Potter ended up, or J.K. Rowling wrote her masterpiece when her life was at the very bottom. And he said, sometimes there are things that when you hit that rock bottom, that's a good base for something to come that's better. I want to do a big shout out to, his name is Lamont, because Lamont gave me a lot of hope yesterday when I felt the world had just turned on me. But here's what I know. I have every one of your support, and I appreciate your support. Thank you for continuously watching, for continuously staying with us, continuously staying with what I say. And I know some of you don't like Trump. I know some of you do like Trump. And if that's the reason, I know that wasn't the only reason, but I know that that's a big portion of the reason why I no longer do so at KVVB. I always said it. I always said my opinions are those of myself, not of the opinions of especially KVVB TV. Everybody that knows, they know that's just 100% pro-Trump. So, you know what? I value the fact that I was kept on as long as I was. I value the fact that this house that I'm broadcasting out of at first was given with really good intentions. But of course, I never, ever talked about politics. Ever, never until March. And the reason I had to go in that direction is kind of unfortunate. I felt so there was so much bad talk about, oh no, coronavirus is going to be okay. Remember that? Oh no, we're going to be back by Easter. Don't worry about it. I'm like, my sister got coronavirus. I know how bad it can be. And if I have to blame anybody, I have to blame myself for being so politically charged as of late. But if you knew the old me, you'd be like, even most recently, yesterday, I asked another person, a friend, I says, well, could we do a broadcast out of your station? She says, you know what? Here's the answer. Just don't talk about Trump. And I said, I cannot not. I really cannot not. Because we have a charge, at least I do. I grew up very religious. Many people that know me know this. I grew up very religious. We never talk politics, ever, 100%. You remain neutral, right in the middle. So I know many that knew me will say, oh, he shouldn't be talking politics. And you know what I say? I know I shouldn't, but here I am discussing it because obviously I need to share news that puts people in the right headspace. Put people in the right headspace to want to what? Keep safe, be safe, do the right thing. Don't throw caution to the wind. If you have to wear a face mask, wear a face mask. Don't complain about it. China's been doing it for years, by the way, because they have so many little things that pop up. So just put one on. What's the problem with that? You know, I would got into so many fights with people, never, because I didn't tell them in person, hey, you need to wear a face mask. I just said, well, you know, and it is what it is. But I made sure that our family was very cognizant of staying safe, be safe. Let's not get anybody sick. And thankfully, up until recently, nobody's gotten sick here. Nobody has gotten coronavirus since then because we don't throw caution in the wind. We don't put ourselves in harm's way. We do the right thing. However, in coming days, I think it's going to peak. It's going to, because fall's around the corner. So here we are. So I would say to certain places that want to open up, be careful, be more than careful, because now you've got the flu coming up around the corner, just the standard flu, right? Hopefully it's the flu. But now you're going to get people getting symptoms that are like, wait, is this the flu or is this coronavirus? So now you got all this situation coming in. So you still want to do the right thing. And hopefully, I don't know what happens if you get the flu, the regular flu, and then you combine that with coronavirus at some point. Do you understand? I'm not trying to instill fear. One time I actually lost another very close friend who I thought was always going to be my friend over this discussion back in March. And the close friend posted some really bad stuff on my timeline. And I feel like it's been almost a downhill spiral for me ever since I spoke up about doing the right thing. Be cautious. Don't believe all the hype that it's a fake or that it's hoax. Don't believe that it's politically charged. Now, do I think politics are going to wrangle around it? Yeah, and they should. You have people at the very top that are going to either make decisions for the rest of the country to help do the right thing during a pandemic. Do you do the right thing financially to help the rest of the country? I would hope the answer is yes. That's just common knowledge. That's just common sense. Just do the right thing. It may not be easy doing the right thing. You may feel pain in the pocket. Everybody, if they took a pay cut, that is, and I will grant this one to Trump because, again, I applaud him where he does. He gave away his money, right? The average income for a president, which I believe is $300,000. He gave it away. Says, I don't need to use this. He gave it away to a nonprofit. Okay, so he gives it away. That's fantastic. And not necessarily him, but Congress, right? Congress needs to get their act together. Do the right thing by the American people. How do you think the government gets their money to begin with? They just pull it out of the air? No, they build it out of taxes. But in order for taxes to become, here's why this particular story is so important. The number of laid off workers seeking U.S. unemployment benefits rose to 1.1 million last week after 2 weeks of declines. Evidence that many employers are still slashing jobs as the coronavirus is hurting the U.S. economy. The latest figures suggest that more than 5 months after the viral outbreak erupted, the economy is still weak, despite recent gains as some businesses reopen and some sectors like housing and manufacturing have rebounded. A rising number of people who have lost jobs say they consider their loss to be permanent. And you know what? If you're looking at certain businesses, they're closing up, they're shuttering down. They're just not going to come back anytime soon. When you have leases not being able to be paid, you've got somebody that either if they have a house and it's paid off, they don't need payment. But you have a house that currently the bank is charging you, somebody's got to pay the bill. So either you choose to evict that person or you keep them in. And so many businesses are like, we can't pay the bills. I just read just recently where there was another very big, I can't remember the name of the business, but it was a very big business and they did not pay their lease on time. So, and neither can they because they could barely make a profit now. They're almost giving away products, right? 70-80% at some stores just to get people back. How long do you think they can operate like that? Not very long. So there you go. That's the story. And you know what? Look, again, I'm not saying throw caution in the wind. I'm just saying, look, we have to have the difficult discussion. Some people like to run away. They don't like to have contact or discussion. They want to put kind of their head in the sand and hope that it gets better at some point. Here's what I say. Rip off the Band-Aid. Sometimes we put on Band-Aids hoping that it'll get well, but it's not healing. It's starting to grow into gangrene. Rip it off so you can see what's going on beneath the surface. Oh, shoot, that's infected. You know, diabetics, when they get a cut, they have to be extremely careful. Diabetics, I know one diabetic that lost his toe, would have lost his foot if he didn't cut it off. That was a difficult decision for that man. And I love that man. That man's always taking care of me and my mom. He's just a very kind man. His name, Phil. That's all you need to know. Phil. But when that happened, I was like, that can happen? But diabetics and just a cut, they think it's going to be okay, and then all of a sudden their toe's gone, but their foot could have been gone. It could have gotten a lot worse. But here's my illustration for sharing that. Right now, the country has been severely wounded. The world has been wounded. Severely. What are we putting on it? A Band-Aid? Let's take off the Band-Aid and see what's below the surface. If this is a 2 or 3 year pandemic, are we prepared to not cut off the foot, but financially say, you know what, we need to do the right thing for the country. Get people back to work. Number one, we got to focus on safety protocols. Look at countries that have done it right. Look at universities that have done it right, kept it minimal. Invest in certain technology that's available. It sees you from afar coming 10, 15, 20 feet. I've talked about it here on the show. They're infrared cameras. Disneyland has it. For example, if you want to go into downtown Disney, they have protocols. They have a set amount of protocols. Do they put people to work to do this? Yes, that are on the front lines, but they do so at a safe distance, right? TSA workers, anybody that has to, they have safety protocols in place, but you can't operate like, oh, it's going to be gone in a week because it's a political nightmare for Trump meant to disrupt the presidency from winning, right? Because that's the current news that we currently are seeing. Correct me if I'm wrong. If President Trump says, you know what, let's just get rid of coronavirus, let's forget about the political part, let's talk about how we're going to fix it going forward. This is what I'm going to do in my administration. I'm going to make sure, if I were running for president, I'd say this, which I'm not. Obviously, I don't have the money. But if I were running for president, I'd say, look, we have to invest in proper protocol arrangement. Let's put a task force to that to make sure that businesses know at minimum what they need to have. Not like a huge amount. Let's work out a good deal with a manufacturer that can provide these things at minimal cost because we're all in this together. Nobody's really making any money. People are losing money unless you're a streaming service. You're making great money. Number two, let's make it financially possible for people that are currently unemployed or people that are currently trying to pay the rent but hardly can do that. Let's do a stimulus plan to not pay maybe all of their rent, but maybe half of their rent. And then with a certain cutoff date so that they don't depend on the government too long, because that would be called socialism, right? We don't want to promote socialism. But let's do the right thing, at least for the time that we don't have a proper vaccine. How about that? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Or at least until we could prove that the vaccine either works and that there's no harmful side effects. And that would, because there's like 20. I just saw a list of about 20, 25, maybe 30 different vaccines that are going to be made possible. I'm like, well, which one's effective? Which one has side effects? Which one? Yeah, it's just, they're a dime a dozen right now. All trying to get fast track approval. We've had that on the show. Do the right thing, government. Some people don't like Andrew Cuomo. I love Andrew Cuomo. He once said it, and it sparked a light bulb moment in me. He says, government, about 85 to 90% is just politics. It's a lot of bantering. I don't think he said that, but that's what he meant. It's his dad served as a governor, so he grew up around this. It's just a lot of stuff. But the good 10 to 15% is what's quite necessary for the general population. The 10 to 15% keeps the roads paved, keeps the fire departments, keeps the police department, keeps order, safety in place for people that need it. So sure, when a pandemic comes about, you do the right thing. That's what you're there for. That's what government is there for, to help protect the people. Many people are very much like, I want peace, I want love, I want amazingness. Yeah, well, what are you going to do if somebody wants to, back to North Korea, wants to bomb you when you're at like the weakest? You put your defenses up, right? You invest in your military. You put out your defenses. You make sure, hey, we keep the people safe. Isn't that what we do? And if push comes to shove and somebody's doing the wrong thing, we take them out. Boom! With hopefully not a nuke, because nothing comes good of a nuke, but maybe a missile, right? You take the enemy out. Many people take issue with what I say about Trump. Trump himself used to say we're in a war against an invisible enemy known as, at the time, he didn't call it the Chinese virus, he called it coronavirus or COVID-19. I would want to wake up that person because I feel he's fell asleep at the wheel, quite literally. If he goes with that and says, you know what, no, this is the war against the invisible enemy of coronavirus. He could even call it Chinese virus. I don't really care at this point. Just get rid of it. Let's not sever ties with the World Health Organization, which actually is helping other countries with data going. They're a data collection facility. They know what's coming, why it's coming, because they have the difficult talks with other professionals in other countries, and they say, you know what, this is happening, that's happening, this is happening, that's happening, this is happening. What do we do? What's working here? What's working there? And this coronavirus is not a one-size-fits-all, which is why they're constantly coming out with new information of, well, we didn't see that coming. We had an expert on last week about strokes and coronavirus. People may not have had strokes, but for some reason, there's something that coronavirus is doing or stimulating in the victim of sparking something that may have lied dormant, is what I want to say, but I'm not a scientist, so I could be wrong. There's a lot of more research that needs to be done. A lot more health professionals that have been saying, don't throw caution to the wind, don't throw caution to the wind. But here's what I say. Then don't take away their jobs. Make it so that it's safe. Make it so that there's certain protocols in place. Make sure that we can do this, that we can weather this as a people. Like it or not, we are the people of the world and or the country that you reside in. So we are the people. We pay taxes. We pay taxes to the government. The government should be willing to help out, especially those in the darkest of times and the darkest of needs. This is my message. It's been my message ever since March, to be honest. I want to have fun. I want to talk about the funniness and dumbness of the world. I used to do that a lot. Now it's been dark and doom. But here's what I say. Have hope. Eventually it'll get better. But we have to pull together. I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. This is The Morning Show. Thank you for watching. ABC News Radio, KMET, 1490 AM is where it's at. Lots of great programs coming up right after our show. Download the app. It's free. KMET1490am.com or type it in on your web browser, KMET1490am.com. You'll see all the different ways you can watch. Thank you for making a great day. I'll hopefully be back next week here on the radio. Bye-bye, everyone. And for the rest of you, you know what? Look, I could go on and on and on and on, but I won't. I'll keep it. Normally, we disconnect with the radio, and we used to keep it on television. And look, I don't like sharing what happened. I really don't. I don't even want to talk about it. But I feel that hopefully somebody out there will hear my message and say, you know what, maybe I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, because that's really how all of our shows have ever gotten picked up. It was always a friend of a friend of a friend. And here's why I say that, because whether we're on television or not, it's no matter to me. It really isn't. We have a social media presence, and many of you share, you like, you comment, and we know you're the audience that we serve. You're the ones that help us either succeed or not succeed. If nobody tunes in, then I know it's just not working. Nobody agrees. But even if a fraction of the people tuning in are either from around the world or even locally tune in, then I know there is somebody that wants to pay attention to what we're saying. So I challenge each and every one of you to dig deep within, no matter what life throws at you, no matter what comes at you, always do the best job you can do for you. It may not be good for everybody else. Other people may disagree with your position. Other people may turn their backs on you. Other people may defriend you or block you on Facebook because they don't like what you're saying or what you're putting out. And sometimes I'm tempted to block certain people because I feel that they throw caution to the wind and put stupidity higher than wisdom. You know, there was once a Bible verse of talking about seek for it as for treasure, seek for it as for gold, seek for it as for silver. Maybe in that day you will find the wisdom of God. I'm the last one to say I am super godlike or godly or righteous. I'm the last one that will ever say any of those things. But here's what I know. Each and every one of you need to know 100% Nobody is above reproach. Nobody. Each and every one of us. Remember the back in the day, that prostitute, right? If you read the Bible, the prostitute who came, and who came to her defense? It was the Messiah, right? The foretold Messiah that would come and eventually do away with everything else. Here's my suggestion to each and every one of you. No matter what happens in life, remember, don't throw stones at people just because of what they may have done in life. Maybe they stopped doing that in their life. Maybe they turned around and continued to do the right thing. Then help them move forward, not go back. Help them move forward in life, not go back. People judge, women that do these things, but I say, you know what? Do you ever ask the question why they do things to begin with? Maybe you need to do the right thing and forgive them. Even if they didn't stop the process, just continue to forgive them, because you know what? I think God wants to forgive them, obviously. And I think in many ways, if that were their last day, he'd be like, well, what good did you do? Well, I did this, this, and this, and this. And I don't think he'd recall that, because Jesus didn't. Why should we think we're better than everybody else? Why should we think that we know the heart of a person? That's why Jesus said, he that hasn't sinned, cast the first stone. Because back in the day, that was what they did, right? The Israelite nation were quite judgmental, very judgmental. Throw stones, there's a harlot. Right? They ever throw stones at their other men? Some did when they preached the word of God. Remember that? Paul and Silas got beaten up, thrown outside of the county because nobody liked what he was saying or preaching. There's going to be people that come at you no matter what in life. No matter what it is, whether you preach the word of God, whether you don't preach the word of God, you try to do the right thing. I think God doesn't necessarily just say, oh, you have 100% of the truth. I think he says there's a lot of truths all around with everybody. Because the majority say, in essence, there's a universal divine. There's a universal situation going on behind the scenes. And unfortunately, there are people that don't want love because they don't want to act loving. They don't want peace because they love to go to war. There are those that hate, and they don't hate for the right reasons. They hate for the wrong reasons. What I mean by that is this. Even Jesus would get upset. Remember that? Jesus overturned them tables. He overturned the tables, and he says, you know what? You make the temple of my Father unrighteous by your acts. And he overturned those tables. And what were they doing? They were profiting from the people. Profiting, selling things at a higher price than they should have. These were poor people at the time that were just trying to go to the temple. They would oftentimes buy sacrifices so that they could, even turtle doves were like for very, if you didn't have a lot of money and you needed to do a sacrifice, at the time the sacrifice was a necessary thing of the Jewish nation. It's no longer needed according to, well, that depends on what belief you're in, right? But nobody offers sacrifices anymore, right? I don't think. Maybe personal sacrifice. Now it's a spiritual thing for many people. The sacrifice of your time, sacrifice of your money, sacrifice of your effort. Show that you believe in God. You know what I say? I think God honestly says this right now. I think God, and I could be wrong, I think he says, you know what? You are in such hard times. Just do the right thing. That's all I want from you right now. Even churches that are doing the right thing. I know of many that are not making a huge profit. They're just trying to stay spreading hope, spreading faith, spreading love, spreading goodness, kindness, mildness. If you find a service online that helps you out with spreading that out, more power to you. Keep doing that. Because that is why they are there to help inspire. Do I believe there are some religious services out there that want to go back to the way it was and put caution to the wind and, of course, make everybody come back to the church so that they can get donations eventually, because it's easier to get donations from them when they're present versus when they're virtual? Yeah, okay, I get that. But even then, I'd say do the right thing by your flock, because they're not your flock. They're God's flock. You take care of them, but you should want to help them move on in life, not give up. Keep pushing forward, not feel that there's no hope or that life is so dismal. You should want to inspire hope. You should want to be preaching the God's word, or maybe you believe in a different religion or a different faith. Does it make people better? Does it make people want to be good? Then keep doing it. But if it's like look, I haven't read fully the Quran, but I've seen many different scriptures in there that are preaching the right word, meaning be kind, be loving, be a good person, be a human being that is really good, right? And I used to have conversations with people that would profess faith in Muhammad. And oftentimes what people don't understand is they still respect Jesus as a prophet. They just don't believe in the conversation that Jesus is God, and or that God could have a son like that. But they believe Moses, they believe in the other prophets of old, and that Muhammad was also a prophet as well. I would find common ground with many that profess faith in these other religions, because it was always like, well, what's our common ground? You know what we would always agree on? So we both agree God's love. Yes. Good. That's all I needed to hear. That's it. That's all right. Now, there are certain sects of all religions that are harmful. Remember Waco, Texas? Oh, all Christian. Remember that? They slanted the Bible verses to be able to create a flock to be kind of following one man, and that one man made them do all, wanted to commit suicide, right? Waco, Texas was a terrible situation. It's kind of been far removed from us. But on the flip side of that, many people go, well, terrorism has its roots in certain other. So, and I say, well, there's factions in every religion that take it and twist the word, twist the message, and they twist it for evil gain. To which I say, I think that's why Jesus said, many of you will prophesy, many of you will say you're coming in my name, many of you will heal and do great works, and yet I will say, I never knew you. Get away from me, you worker of lawlessness. So keep doing the right thing. Keep pushing forward. Keep moving forward. And if you believe you are doing the right thing, stay committed to that. And if you have hopelessness, you have dark days, you have weak moments in life, know this. When God sent either himself or his son, whichever you believe, I can attest to the Bible because I know the Bible pretty forward and backward. And I know there are different beliefs that Jesus is God or God had a son and that we're not equal, whatever you believe. There was a man that came on this earth. Nobody really disputes that. And he went to who? He oftentimes went to the very poor. But people always wonder, how much money did Jesus have? How much money did his disciples have? You know, his disciples probably had more money than he did. His disciples were fishermen, were they not? The fishing business is pretty good when you're the fisherman, right? And you got fishermen. Now, they're humble. They're smelly. They're smelly, right? No, fishermen, no, they're smelly because they smell like fish, right? Okay, so he picked the people that were as humble as can be. He didn't go for the haughty ones. He didn't go for the religious leaders. He didn't go for anybody else. He went for the humble and meek ones. Even though one of them ended up turning their back on him eventually, he still held out hope for each and every one of them to follow me. If you believe, then I need you to follow me. Follow me. But did he make a lot of money? He often went to people's homes and got taken care of, sometimes slept in the Garden of Gethsemane. I think that was kind of like what homeless people do, is it not? Jesus himself, in essence, did he own property? Was he a rich man? No, nobody will dispute that. Was he a kind man? Was he a humble man? Was he a man that could get angry for things and people doing the wrong things in life? Oh, yes, of course. But he always said, God will provide. And he himself, through a miraculous moment, which I would be amazed if anybody could do that right here, right now, make out of 7 loaves and 10 fish, multiply them to feed the masses. Sometimes I thought, well, maybe that was a trick or something. I don't know. Like they had them hidden in certain jars. But no, the Bible talks about that. Therefore, it must be true. But whatever you believe, he provided for them food and sustenance. He preached to them, preached the word, spread love, spread joy, be kind, be peaceable, as much as it depends upon you. And in many ways, he, in essence, just wanted them to be better people than the way the religious leaders were teaching them. You know the religious leaders of his day, he called them out. He said, "You're serpents, you're offsprings of vipers." What did he mean by that? You follow the teachings not of God, but that of the original manslayer, because you burden the people with things that should not burden them. You make the word of God invalid. You make the word of God desolate, because you do not remember the whole law hangs. Love God, or is it love your neighbor? Or is it love yourself? Which of those three is it? You may know, you may not know the scripture, but he always taught, first love God with your whole heart, your whole soul, your whole mind, and your whole strength. Pay attention to these things, for these things are coming. There's a time where there will be a great tribulation that has never been seen, nor will ever be seen again. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but the Jewish nation, once he left the earthly scene, in 70 CE, the Jewish nation became almost desolate. The armies encamped around and decimated it. Fires. Christians were persecuted for having believed in this humble man who had to come, try to inspire hope, but then had to ascend back into heaven, waiting for the day that he would rule as king on this earth to bring about, well, that depends on what you believe. At the end of the day, here's what I say to each and every one of you. Inspire hope in one another. Inspire love in one another. Inspire people to continue moving forward. Every day I hear somebody say, "Are we in the last day?" To which I say, don't think if we're in the last day. Think of this. What do you think, at least in Revelation, the other Bible, not the Quran, I got to read the Quran to know what it says. But at least in the Bible, it says that there will be good times coming eventually. It does. It says that. Don't believe me, go to Revelation 21. It talks about peace on earth, finally, right? So even if it were the last day, you'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad it's here," right? Because people always go, "Well, I hope I'm on the right side of things." You know what? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about if you hope you're on the wrong side of things. Here's what I think. The original manslayer, the original one who did so much evil to the whole world, whether you believe his name is Lucifer, whether you believe his name is Satan, whether you believe his name is Bartholomew, whatever you believe his name is, just know this. All accounts of every type of religion out there, or faith, we'll just call them faiths. Every type of faith talks about a bad side. I don't really call it bad side because we do bad things. I call it an evil side. An evil person is completely different than a bad person. You understand the difference? We all do bad. I've done bad. But have you done evil or heinous acts? There are evil people in this world. I keep talking about Charles Manson, right? That's the epitome of evil. I keep talking about Hitler and what he inspired people to be. Nazi Germany. Not the Germany it is now, the Nazi Germany it was then. But he persuaded so many people to believe in him. And people were like, yeah. And, you know, they were quite respectful of him, quite waiting for change, right? They were hoping because they were poor at one point, and then they were hoping for change. And here he just did more evil acts than any other dictator. But there's been other bad dictators in history that did the same thing. Persecuted people, put them to death just for having a Bible. And around the world, that's happening even now, slowly but surely. There are countries in this world that no matter what faith you profess, you should not profess faith in those, whatever you profess faith in. You must profess faith in them or their approved faith. This is happening in countries right here, right now. Don't believe me? Do the research. All right, people, I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. I appreciate each and every one of you for staying a little bit longer than normal. I really do. And look, no matter what happens, here's what I know. In the next coming weeks, I may or may not have a show. If I don't, then this might be the last broadcast I ever do. But if I do have another show come Monday, know this. I believe the universal creator will provide, because I would hope I'm doing the right thing. And if I'm not, maybe it's not meant to be. All right, people, thank you for making it a great day. I love you. I really do. If this is it, don't worry. It's never it. I still got social media, and I still love you. Bye-bye, everyone.